Hello my friends and welcome back to the channel, Average Cox Gaming. And wow, what a disastrous launch this Valentine's Day event has been. Disclaimer, I'm not really trashing the devs, I'm just kind of saying what happened. And I'm going to give a little opinion. I don't mean to bring a lot of heat on the devs for this because they already probably got enough heat. But there are a few very important things and topics that came up from this event. Also, before we continue the video, if the format looks weird or I sound a little bit different, it's because I'm recording this video on my phone in my car because I live in Texas and I'm part of the Texas storm and I haven't had power in 36 hours. So got nothing better to do, to be honest. Can't do anything, so figured I'd come out to my car, turn on the heat, and make this video. Anyway, first things first, this Valentine's Day event was just botched from the get-go. The way I think they do these events, and I'm not even kidding, I think that the builds get done right before the deadline, and they don't even test them or anything. I'm pretty sure that that's the way it goes, because it seems like every time they try to launch one of these events, it either gets delayed or something is seriously broken in it. And it's like a consistent pattern. And you'd think by now they'd figure out how to fix those things because every other game that has live service has some sort of update or event or something. And they usually go pretty good. ARK, a game that's been out a very long time across all three of the major platforms, not including mobile and Switch, has rolled out several updates every year, big updates. And they're always botched. It's a really weird thing. So PC got the update first. We expect that. That always happens because the console updates, they have to go through Microsoft and Sony respectively before they can actually launch onto the platform. And usually the Sony and Microsoft set the time and then the developers just relay the time that has been given to them, essentially. Anyway, Xbox, they were both set to release at 8 p.m. PST, which is California. Don't know why they keep switching the time zones, because it's either PST, EST. I don't know why they keep doing it. Anyway, 8 p.m. California time. It was late on Xbox. Never even came to PlayStation until the next night, about 24 hours later. And when it hit on Xbox, it was, I think, 54 or 55 gigs for this update. 54 or 55 gigs on a console. That is a freaking game. That's an entire game. And that's how big this patch was. And in a minute, I'm going to tell you something that's going to make it even more worse than it already sounds. So anyway, a lot of people had trouble downloading it. I believe for at least the US, I believe the average internet speed is like 24 megabits per second. So that's the average. Meaning there's some people that have faster and there's some people that have less. But even at 24 megabits per second, it still takes a really long time to download 54 or 55 gigs. I think 54 is the number. But anyway, so that was the first thing. Then obviously PlayStation never even... I mean, they're like, yeah, it's good, it's out. We just don't know where it is. It hasn't launched yet. And we're just sitting around twiddling our thumbs. No updates from the devs. Finally comes... a day later, 24 hours later, we finally get it. Okay. On top of that, something happened with transfers over the past 2 days, and people were losing their characters and losing loot and tames. And it's just a nightmare. And what makes it so bad is, well, there's a few things that make it even worse. One, that they will not replace your character or your tames. Now, they will give you a character, a level 105 with no bosses done, but we all know that a level 105 with no bosses is pretty much useless. I mean, you need transmitter and some other things to play this game effectively. So they do that, and you say, well, they will give you tames. Yes, they will give you, let's say that you lost a bunch of gigas and some rexes and stuff like that. They'll give you gigas and rexes. They're going to be a max level of 205, perfect tame stats. So none of your, I mean, it's useless. If you have an 800, 830, whatever giga, or melee giga, you don't want a freaking tamed giga that's 205 that's going to come out with like 100 and something melee. So obviously that's useless. And they don't replace your character. So they have no system set up to really help you when you lose your character. And people lose their characters all the time. And, you know, they basically took away the ability to duplicate your character, whether on accident or on purpose, completely. because they just delete the duplicated character now if it happens. And so that used to be a godsend. If you did lose your character, at least you had another character with that implant ID so you could have your imprints and everything. But no, they took that away. And it's just a really poor system. And so the reason that it's so common that it happens is when you think about it, if I'm transferring from a North America server to an EU server, European server, my data physically has to leave that North American data center and go to that European data center. It physically has to switch data centers. That's why when it says NA or EU, that means that is where the data is hosted in that region. So when I transfer to an EU, there's always going to be a chance that my data is going to be lost because it's handing the data off and packets get lost, things happen. And so there's always that chance, and they don't really have a good system set up to prevent that. So losing your character is the worst thing. Losing tames you can live with, losing your character is the worst thing. So that's been going on. Also, one of the developers, I won't say their name, even though you could probably guess who it is, who, by the way, I don't have any gripes with. I think they do a really good job for what their job is, but they were the bearer of bad news. Basically, right now, during any sort of breeding event, the Genesis 1 map is like practically unplayable. For whatever reason, the way they developed it, it just does not, the performance goes in the toilet and it's like seriously unplayable. Every time someone joins the server, there's like at least 30 seconds of join lag. Okay, so you're rubber banding. And to make it worse, it's not just that. People get in these disconnect loops on Genesis. And so they'll try to join, they'll create the join lag. They'll get DC'd, they'll disconnect, and then try to join again. And it's not just one person trying to do it. It happens a lot of times. And so there's constant join lag. And so it's unplayable. Even if you're raising there, you're stretching out the amount of time it takes to raise. Like if you have an imprint that is 8 hours away, it's really going to be like 14 to 15 hours because of how bad the rollbacks are. But anyway, Genesis 1, their newest map, their most expensive map, because you have to buy the Genesis Season Pass to play it, and that means you have to buy both maps. Most expensive map is probably the most broken map in terms of stability. And what's crazy about it is they've been developing DLCs for this game for years. And this is their newest map. So everything they've learned from a technical standpoint, from networking, this is the culmination of their knowledge and what they've learned, and it doesn't work. The performance is really bad. The crashes are horrendous. And so basically the developers have said, yeah, this is the last 3 times. After this, the only time you'll see 3 times is during Extra Life, which happens once a year in November. It's a charity event, and every time they reach one of their benchmarks, they increase the rates to the next level, whatever, the predetermined level is. If you're not familiar with Extra Life, you probably are, because it's the big, it's when they peak out for their players every year. But anyway, so no more 3 times. They've made that clear. They can't do it because the servers are too unstable. Is that our fault as players? No. It's the developer's fault, because there are plenty of boosted servers that they have their rates way higher than this, and they're still playable. I mean, maybe they're stretching the resources out too thin, whatever. Like I said, they don't have enough income, and that's one of the biggest problems. But anyway, so no more 3x. I'm assuming we'll still have 2x for events, but that's it. No more 3x. And then the next thing, still no enhanced update for PS5 or PlayStation 5. That came out in November. The Xbox Series X update came out in October. Like if you were beta testing or whatever for the Series X, that patch came out in October during the Halloween event. But still no PS5 enhanced update. And by the way, yes, the PS5, as far as frame rate, runs really well on ARK for the PS, because it's the PS4 version. But it crashes so much, like way more often than PS4 does. I was with one of my friends, and we're talking about gray screen, like the application crashes, not network crashing. We were looking for alpha basilisks on a skiff. I'm on a PlayStation 4 flying around, and he's constantly crashing. And it's like, wow, this is really embarrassing. But anyway, the least they could do is open up the amount of memory that the game can use or something. I don't know. But anyway, so that's a thing too. So that's everything that's going on right now as far as the forefront. Obviously, Genesis 2 is supposed to launch next month, or, you know, I'd say a few weeks, but it would probably, if it does launch in March, it'll probably be at the later half of March. I suspect it'll get delayed. And they'll probably say, you know, work from home has made it really difficult for us to develop this, and so we need more time. And so more than likely it'll get delayed, because every time they release a date, it usually gets pushed. Anyway, that's it. No real clickbait here. This is just the facts. You know, a lot of people post speculation, but this is it, man. This is really what's going on. Anyway, let me know what you guys think, how things are going for the event for you. If you're in Texas and you don't have power, you know, best of luck to you. I feel your pain. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and until next time.